This Day in Sports History. And welcome back to This Day in Sports History, a member of the Sports History Network. You can find more podcasts, more info, and even a giveaway at sportshistorynetwork.com. It's April 26th, and on this day in 1981, let's pick back up with the greatest playoff series ever played in the NBA with Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals between the Philadelphia 76ers and the Boston Celtics. The series had shifted back to the Philadelphia Spectrum for Games 3 and 4. The Sixers had won Game 3 by 10 to take a 2-1 lead. Game 4 was thought to be a must-win for the Celtics. A loss would put another championship on life support, but they started the game like a lifeless corpse and trailed by 17 at halftime. Boston found a heartbeat in the third quarter, though, while the Sixers' shooting flatlined. The Celtics fought back to cut it to a 3-point game heading into the final 12 minutes. The Sixers were able to rebuild their lead back to 7 points with about 6 minutes left, but the Celtics responded with a Cedric Maxwell and one, and then a Larry Bird jumper followed by an assist for a layup, which tied it at 93. But the old Spectrum curse worked its voodoo on Boston once again. Trailing by 2 with 7 seconds left, Tiny Archibald rebounded a missed Philly shot, and instead of calling a timeout to set up an out-of-bounds play at midcourt, he sprinted up court and passed to what he thought was an open Larry Bird. Instead, Bobby Jones played a little free safety and stepped in front of the pass to seal the 107-105 win for Philadelphia, and the Sixers took a commanding 3-1 lead in the series. Bird finished with a double-double, 18 points and 17 rebounds. Maxwell led the way with his 20. Dr. J had 20 points and 7 rebounds. Bobby Jones scored 18 in the sixth-man role. And Andrew Toney continued his serial killer ways as the Boston Strangler with 17 points off the bench. The Spectrum was like a black hole for the Celtics. It was their 11th consecutive loss on the 76ers' home floor. Things looked pretty grim for the Celtics, but Bill Fitch said they still had life, and they clung to that.
They have to beat us 4 times. Let's don't look at it any other way than that. One of these 2 great teams has to lose 4 ball games, and until we lose that 4th one, we're still in it.
So with Boston's backs against the wall, the stage was set for this playoff series to become the greatest ever. Hey. You've heard me talk about the Sterling Soap Company for a while now, and whether you've jumped on board and smell like an absolute champion, or you've been a little hesitant, then here's a great opportunity for you. We're giving away a $75 gift card to use at sterlingsoap.com. Sterling Soap is 100% natural and with a variety of bath soaps, shave soaps, beard balm, lotions, cologne, and many more personal care products in a large variety of scents. You're sure to find something that's perfect for you. Go to sportshistorynetwork.com/giveaways for your chance to win a $75 gift card to the Sterling Soap Company. I've put a link in the show notes as well. Now, let's get back to the episode. On this day in 2006, minor leaguer Delmon Young had a major league meltdown. Young was the reigning minor league player of the year at this point, playing AAA ball for the Durham Bulls. The Bulls were just starting a 3-game series on the road against the Pawtucket Red Sox. One thing you should know before diving into this story is that there was an umpire strike going on, and the guys brought in as replacements were high school and college umps. The speed of the game is significantly different between high school and college compared to AAA ball, one step below the majors. And that certainly figured into what happened on this night.
Runner goes at second, pitch is in there for a called strike 3. Delmon thought it was high. Darnell McDonald went into third without a throw. B.J. Upton, the trail runner, held it first. And Delmon Young is still staring at the plate, wondering where that pitch was. And he says a word or two, and now he's been tossed from the game. Well, Delmon just threw his bat, and the bat hit the umpire. Oh, boy. That's a bad move by Delmon Young.
Young said the situation escalated quickly. He is showing up the umpire a little bit by sticking around at the plate, and typically arguing balls and strikes with an ump will get you tossed. I'm not excusing what Young did, but listening to his explanation does provide some context on why he was so upset. Now, first, These are guys on the doorstep of the show, right? A call-up or staying in the minors could be as close as a few more hits or getting on base. A bad call from a replacement ump could cost you money. Second, as Young was arguing the call, the ump told him 3 times to get the F out of my box. Let the player vent and then move on. But the umpire, probably also wanting to impress some umpiring supervisor that night, decided his best course of action was to show he was in control of the situation and tossed Young as he was walking back to the dugout. And lastly, Young didn't turn and fire his bat. As he walked away, he flung it behind him. Now, the intent was not to hit anybody with the bat, especially not hit the ump squarely in the chest, but that was the result. Eventually, tempers did settle down, and the game continued, but the league dropped a hammer on Young soon after, giving him a 50-game suspension. It was the longest suspension ever handed down in the International League. His bat toss also cost him $145,000 in lost salary. Now, it's okay to blow off a little steam every now and then, if you need to. We're all human, we've got emotions, and sometimes we do need to vent a little bit and let go of that volcanic pressure. Well, on this night in 1993, Kansas City Royals manager Hal McRae had a Krakatoa-level release of steam. The season was just 19 games old, but his Royals had not started off particularly well. After a loss to the Detroit Tigers on this night, KC dropped to 7-12 on the season and 6.5 games back in the standings. Not catastrophic, but not heading in the right direction either. After the game, media gathered around McRae's desk in his office for the usual round of questions about the game. Well, one particular question struck a wrong chord, and what had been bubbling just below the surface erupted with the force of Mount St. Helens.
God, all these stupid-ass questions every night. Find the when I hit Brett for Miller. Miller started the game. He's playing against left-handed pitchers. Brett is not playing against left-handed pitchers. Find the what I bat for Miller. You think I'm a goddamn fool?
I could play the whole thing, but it would require a lot of bleeping on my part. So suffice it to say that over the course of the next 90 seconds, McRae went through the entire library of expletives, peppering each sentence with 2, 3, sometimes 4 of them interlaced with his other words. He tossed drinks, papers, a newspaper guy's recorder, a microphone. He ripped his telephone out of the wall, and he threw it, and whatever else he could put his hands on and throw, he did. One reporter could actually be seen walking out of the office with a cut on his face. So, was McRae fired after this tirade? He was not. McRae managed the rest of the year and was able to get the Royals to 6 games above 500 and a third-place finish in the AL West by the end of the season. He coached one more season in KC after that before being let go. On this day in 2006, a minor league baseball player was traded for 60 cases of beer. Okay, so this was more than likely a publicity stunt. We are talking about the minor leagues here, and of course anything that happens in the minor leagues tends to be, publicity stunt-like. So this was pitcher Nigel Thatch, traded from the Schaumburg Flyers, located in Illinois, to the Fullerton Flyers in California for 60 cases of Budweiser. Now, I am specifically saying Budweiser instead of just 60 cases of beer here because that's part of the gimmick of this trade. Thatch was 0-3 with a 10.22 ERA and just 12 1/3 innings for Schaumburg prior to the trade. Not exactly an enticing set of numbers for another team to add to their rotation. But Thatch was not your normal ball player. And while there are a lot of athletes that go into acting after they're done with their career, Thatch was an actor who wanted to play ball. You see, you may remember Thatch from a series of commercials he did in the early 2000s, playing Leon in a string of Budweiser commercials. See if this jogs your memory.
Well, if the wallet's open wide enough, I don't see any conflicts. I'll catch it, kick it, hit it, punch it, throw it, it don't matter. As long as somebody's paying, Leon's playing.
His character portrayed both professional football and baseball players in the ads and spoke of himself in the third person. Now, by the accounts that I found, Thatch was serious about playing baseball. And while there is nothing wrong with Schaumburg, Illinois, I'm sure it's a beautiful place, but if you are an actor, then playing baseball in Schaumburg may not be the best place to be for a working actor who needs to audition for parts sometimes with very little notice. He expressed the desire to get back closer to home and LA. When the commissioner of the Golden Baseball League in California, Kevin Altgeld, heard that, he started working on the trade to bring Thatch to Fullerton. Anheuser-Busch was more than happy to supply the 60 cases to Schaumburg, but apparently Thatch was not that enthused about being traded for 1,440 individual bottles of Budweiser, no matter his previous ties with the company. He was offered the standard $700 a month to play for Fullerton, but he never reported to the team. Thatch has had a lot more success with his acting career than his pitching career, portraying Malcolm X in both the movie Selma and in the TV series Godfather of Harlem. On this day in 1983, the Baltimore Colts selected John Elway with the first pick in the NFL Draft. But here's the thing. Elway did not want to play for Baltimore, and he let the Colts know that well ahead of the draft.
I want to give myself the best chance to be the best quarterback that I could, and I looked at that organization and what they were doing, and I didn't think that that was going to give me the best chance to show off my talent. Not show off my talents, but to win a Super Bowl and to win as a football team.
Word was he did not want to play for head coach Frank Kush, but Colts general manager Ernie Accorsi was not about to miss out on a once-in-a-generation quarterback like Elway, or as he kept telling people, the next Johnny Unitas.
He was the best prospect I had ever seen. So if I was going to trade him, it was going to be for the greatest trade in the history of pro football.
But here's the thing. Elway was not only the top prospect in a quarterback-heavy football draft, but he had been drafted by the New York Yankees in 1981, and he was a top pitching prospect in their farm system. And he told the Colts that if they drafted him with the top pick, he would play baseball instead. The Colts believed that he would eventually come around and took him with the top pick on this day. A week later, no movement had been made, and while Accorsi was standing firm and confident that Elway would come around, owner Robert Irsay was not so confident, and he told his GM to trade Elway. Other teams around the league started calling Accorsi with offers, but Denver Broncos owner Ed Kaiser Jr. cut out the middleman and called Irsay directly. When Kaiser met with Broncos head coach Dan Reeves and presented him with the details that Irsay had given him, he was all in.
He said, Chris Hinton. And he said, Mark Herman. And number one the next year. And, I kept waiting to see what else it was. And he said, and I said, is that it? And he said, yeah, that's it.
And that's how Elway wound up in Denver. But Accorsi and Kush did not hear about it until much later in the day. And the news did not come from Irsay.
I didn't find out about the trade until they broke into the NBA playoffs with a press conference. I called Frank Kush, who was the head coach. I said, are you watching the NBA playoffs? He said, no. I said, you better put them on because they just traded your quarterback. So that's how we found out.
And that leads to one of those great what-if questions. Let's say Elway did not have the leverage of baseball to bargain his way to Denver, and he went to Baltimore. Could Elway, being a Colt, have saved them and kept them in Baltimore? It is an interesting thing to ponder, but with Elway going to Denver, Irsay hightailed it out of Baltimore under the cover of darkness a year later. On this day in 2006, Kobe Bryant changed his number from 8 to 24. It was a bit of a surprise for a player who had really become synonymous with the number 8, like, say, Michael Jordan and 23. Kobe said it was part of his maturation process and the second half of his career.
It's about appreciating every moment for me, because we've been through so much, and as your career kind of, I'm not an old man, but you start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel is much brighter than the one at the beginning of the tunnel. So it's really about appreciating every day as it comes, every game, every win, every loss.
But there may have been another reason. Kevin Garnett said that everybody missed the real reason that Kobe chose to go with 24.
People don't even understand that was a sign to everybody that he was a step above 23, if y'all even got that. And that was a shot at Mike.
And if you follow that logic, it does make sense. Kobe chased every record that Michael had, though he did come up one championship short, one MVP short, and several championship MVPs short. But the switch was not a bad move for Kobe. His number 24 jersey became the top-selling jersey in the NBA the next year, and of course the Lakers retired both numbers at the end of his career. Time now for today's That's Got Nothing to Do with Sports fun fact. You may remember a previous fun fact in which I said Abraham Lincoln was the only president with a U.S. patent, and he still is the only one. However, his patent for an inflation device to be put on riverboats to unstick them when they got stuck was never produced, and many say it was at best impractical and at worst would have never worked. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.